What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, guys, so we are basically going to continue our coverage over the Reign of X, and we actually pick up with Marauders number 17. Now, with this book right here, it is basically Strom versus Callisto. And this is something we have seen a lot of times in X-Men comics, but of course, it has been a good period of time since we last saw it, because you saw it a couple times in Chris Claremont's run, and of course you saw a couple more times after Chris Claremont had left the X-Men titles. But of course, it's Marvel kind of using this as a way to move the story forward. And you see what I mean as we cover this book. But of course, it's us once again picking up with the Marauders, because of course a lot of things are kind of stirring up when it comes to the Marauders, and of course their future plans down the road. Well, really, Emma Frost's plans down the road, which of course is a book we're going to cover very soon, actually. But with that being said, here is Marauders number 17, Strom versus Callisto. And so getting into today's video, we actually pick up with Emma Frost. Now, right now, you actually do have Emma Frost meeting up with Lockheed. And matter of fact, this is a flashback. Now, this flashback is a way to remind us that this was the moment Emma Frost found out that Kitty Pryde died. Now remember, Emma Frost is one of the three people who is in charge of the Hellfire Club. Her, Kitty Pryde, and Sebastian Shaw. Now, Sebastian Shaw did not like the idea that Kitty Pryde was becoming the third person in charge of the entire company. Now, remember, the Hellfire Club is a way for Charles Xavier to send medicine to different countries around the world that had actually accepted COPPA as a nation, and of course, made a trade with COPPA. Now, with that being said, like I said earlier, this moment was the moment Emma Frost found out that Kitty Pryde was killed off by Sebastian Shaw. Because right now, Emma Frost is reading the mind of Lockheed, the pet dragon that belonged to Kitty Pryde. And when Kitty Pryde was being killed off by Sebastian Shaw, of course, Sebastian was trying to kill off Lockheed as well, but Lockheed survived and was able to fly back to Emma Frost, and Emma Frost learned what happened to Kitty Pryde. Now, of course, you do have Emma Frost actually go and find Shinobi Shaw. Now, Shinobi Shaw is actually the son of Sebastian Shaw, clearly. But of course, when Sebastian Shaw was able to bring back Shinobi Shaw, thanks to the Five, and remember, the Five is a group of mutants who have the ability to bring someone back to life. Now, when I say that, I really mean that they make you a new clone body and put your memories into that new clone body. Now, with that being said, though, the reason why you have Emma Frost going over to Shinobi Shaw, the son of Sebastian Shaw, is to see that if Shinobi Shaw actually knew what his father was planning to do, which was killing off Kitty Pryde. Because the reason why Kitty Pryde got caught off guard by Sebastian Shaw was because Kitty Pryde and her team was trying to save Shinobi Shaw, the son of Sebastian Shaw. And so this makes sense for Emma Frost to actually go over to Shinobi, read his mind to see if he actually knew anything about the plans of his father, which of course Emma Frost finds out that Shinobi Shaw had no idea at all. Basically meaning that Sebastian Shaw used his son as a part of his plan to kill off Kitty Pryde. Because again, Sebastian Shaw did not like the idea of Kitty Pryde becoming the third person in charge of the company. Now, we actually do pick up with Strom and Callisto. Now, remember, Callisto had became the White Knight of the Hellfire Club. Let me explain. So, the Hellfire Club has your three leaders, the Red Queen, which is Kitty Pryde, the White Queen, Emma Frost, and you have the Black King, Sebastian Shaw. Those are your top 3 members of the Hellfire Club, the ones who actually run the entire company. Now, underneath that, you have the Knights, kind of like second in charge. You have the Red Knight, Bishop, the Black Knight, Shinobi Shaw, of course, second in charge of his father's part of the company. And then you have Callisto, the White Knight, of course, second in charge of Emma Frost's part of the company. Now, the reason why you have Callisto meeting up with Strom is because, remember, Kitty Pryde is the Red Queen. She's part of the ownership of the company. But of course, she has her own team, the Marauders, which of course Strom is part of. But Strom wants to lead the team, and Callisto actually knows that. Now, with that being said, though, Callisto has one favor to actually ask Strom to kind of kill her off. And what I mean is that when it came to House of M, remember that big event that happened years ago when the Scarlet Witch kind of warped reality, but when it came back to the normal version of the Marvel Universe, she said her famous 3 words, "No more mutants," where of course a lot of mutants had lost their abilities. Now, most of the mutants were able to regain their abilities, but not all of them. And apparently Callisto is one of them. Now, when it comes to COPPA, if you want to get your powers back, you have to be killed off. But of course, you have to be killed off in a thing called the Crucible. And we actually covered that a while back in the early days of Dawn of X. It was a way to kind of be killed off in an honorable way so that when you're brought back to life, you're actually brought back to life as a mutant. Because right now, technically, Callisto is a human being. She does not have her powers at all. And so this is her asking Strom to kill her off so that she'll be brought back to life with her powers. And this is Callisto kind of reminding us that when it came to her and Strom fighting against one another, Strom had beat her multiple times. And matter of fact, one of those times Strom did win, Strom was able to take over the Morlocks from Callisto. Now we actually do jump back over to Emma Frost, and we actually pick up with Sebastian Shaw with Emma Frost, who are right now on a particular island that we saw back in Giant Size Magneto. Now remember, in that book, basically Magneto worked with Namor as a way to make a deal for Magneto to actually receive an island that was actually owned by Namor. Now the reason why Magneto wanted that island was to kind of get it for Emma Frost. I had a hard time there. I have no idea why. But basically, Magneto got that island as a way to give over to Emma Frost because Emma Frost actually has plans with this island. Now, of course, it does lead into the Hellfire Gala or Gala event, which we're going to cover down the road. But either way, it's kind of Emma Frost showing Sebastian Shaw what she had built on this island, this big, nice, beautiful building. Now, when it comes to Sebastian Shaw, he is surprised that he had no idea about this because he feels like this is something that should have been run through the Quiet Council, but of course it wasn't. Now you do have Emma Frost say, "Oh, don't worry, Magneto gave me the clear to actually build this building," which of course does kind of tick off Sebastian Shaw. Now, you do have Emma Frost kind of give us hints that this big event is going to have a bunch of humans, which of course could mean that it's Emma Frost and COPPA trying to make some kind of powerful move here by inviting humans to a big event on this new island owned by COPPA in this brand new building that Emma Frost had built. Now that is the moment we actually do pick up with Kitty Pryde and also Loki. Now, of course, right now you have those two characters right now in Madripoor. Have a hard time saying that. Guys, forgive me. But either way, though, we pick up with these two characters right now going over to Madripoor. Now, the reason why they're coming over here is because after Kitty Pryde was being killed off by Sebastian Shaw, and so was Loki, but of course, he was able to break away. But of course, Loki was saved by some random couple in Madripoor, who of course brought Lockheed back to health, where of course he did fly back home to COPPA to tell Emma Frost how Kitty Pryde died. And so this is Kitty Pryde coming back to that couple who had saved Lockheed to kind of give them a bunch of money for what they did. Now, of course, this is the moment you do have the guy actually tell Kitty Pryde that right now the new people who have taken over the government of this country, which of course is Verendi, the kind of enemy of the Marauders at the moment, is kind of trying to change up the island, which of course getting rid of the poor areas and building up new, more unique areas or more fancy areas to kind of bring in more money into the country. But of course, a lot of people are losing their homes. And so this is Kitty Pryde getting very upset with the idea that, of course, Verendi is doing this because they're kind of trying to bring in more money for the country, but really more money for their own pockets. And so this is Kitty Pryde getting ready to make a plan with Emma Frost to kind of take over this island, to kick out Verendi, but to also make more money for the mutant race. But then we jump back over to COPPA, where we actually pick up with Callisto, who's right now about to get into a match of a Crucible match, actually. Now, remember, when it comes to the Crucible, is a way for a mutant who had lost their powers thanks to House of M, who's right now basically a human, to be killed off, but be brought back to life by the Five as a mutant, of course, with their new clone body. And so this is Callisto doing this as a way to finally get her powers back. It was her final wish. But when she asked Strom, like, hey, kill me off, so when I'm brought back to life, of course, I'll have my powers back, because that's the one thing she actually missed. Now, with that being said, of course, Strom did not take the invitation at first, and so that is why right now you have Callisto getting ready to fight against the Silver Samurai, but that is the moment you actually do have Strom appear. Because again, Strom and Callisto have fought against each other for so many years in Marvel Comics, it makes sense that you would have Strom be the one to fight against Callisto in a Crucible match as a way to kind of kill her off so that she can come back as a mutant. Now, this fight does last for a few pages, but it actually does end with Strom winning and actually killing off Callisto, which means that when Callisto gets her new body, she'll come back to life as a mutant and no longer being a human, which is something Callisto really wanted, especially right now, being on an island full of mutants. Now, of course, this is the moment you actually do pick up with Kitty Pryde going over to visit with Verendi. Now, remember, Verendi is an evil organization, which is basically the main bad guys of the Marauders series. Now, of course, Verendi is the ones who kind of taken over the government system of Madripoor. But of course, this is the moment you have Kitty Pryde stopping by to talk to the members of Verendi. Now, the reason why she is doing this is one, kind of hoping that Verendi will back off with the idea of burning down all the poor areas of Madripoor as a way to bring in new big shiny towers. But of course, you have Verendi say no. Now, Kitty Pryde, she does not fight back. Instead, we know Kitty Pryde has a plan to deal with Verendi, but on top of that, right before Kitty Pryde leaves, she hands Verendi a letter. Now, of course, you do have some members thinking that Emma Frost is going to sue Verendi, but in reality, it was an invitation to Emma Frost's big event that we're going to see in later videos. With that being said, this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.